Hi, I'm Sarah Barr. I'm the Student Legal Services Attorney at Kansas State University. Welcome to Legal Issues for International Students. When you enroll at Kansas State, part of the money that you pay for tuition goes into a fund that provides services for you, such as legal services, student health care, the rec, counseling services. So you are able to have the opportunity to get services without additional cost to you. So if you ever need legal advice, you have the opportunity to come and talk to me, and I can hopefully help you out. Today, I'm just going to talk to you about some of the issues that international students seem to have and questions that they seem to have as they come to the United States and as they try to figure out this whole new system. And speaking of whole new systems, this is my first ever recording a Zoom presentation. So I'm doing this from home, I'm learning, and I have 2 dogs. So let's see how we do. The first thing that students seem to want to know is about driver's licenses. The driver's license from your home country can work temporarily, but if you buy a car and you register it in the state of Kansas, 90 days after that, you become a resident for purposes of a driver's license only. 60 days after becoming a resident, you must get a Kansas driver's license. Once you get a Kansas driver's license, you must have it in your possession if you're going to be driving a car. You don't have to carry it all the time, but you must have it with you if you're going to be operating a motor vehicle. You don't have to carry your passport, but it's a good idea if you carry a copy of your passport and a copy of your visa. We are in crazy times right now in the United States, and it wouldn't hurt to have those copies of those identification papers with you. If you are stopped by the police because of a traffic infraction or a traffic problem, don't try to run away from the police. Pull over immediately as soon as it is safe to do so. Stay in your car with your hands in view. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. You need to be prepared to show your driver's license, your registration form, and proof of car insurance. If your registration and your car insurance are in the glove box of the or in the console of your car, you need to say to the police officer, "May I reach into the glove box and get my registration?" This is because you do not want the police officer to think that you are reaching for a weapon. The police officer will tell you what you did wrong, so you don't have to try to guess what you did wrong. The officer, if he gives you a ticket, will ask you to sign the ticket. This is just agreeing that you will appear in court. It is not an admission of guilt. It is not admitting or saying that you broke the law in any way. It's just your promise to appear, to show up in court and address the problem. Don't ever give a police officer money to encourage him not to give you a ticket. Don't ever consent to a search of your car. And some charges, such as driving under the influence of alcohol and driving while suspended, could result in you being taken to jail. Most traffic stops will result in you getting a piece of paper that's called a notice to appear, you signing it, and you being sent on your way. In the state of Kansas, And in the city of Manhattan, you cannot drive your car while you are talking on your telephone or texting. You can talk on your phone if you are using completely hands-free, but you can never text and drive. And this means even if you are at a stop sign or a stoplight, you cannot be texting. You need to pull over and park if you're going to text. Every state has their own law about this, and many cities have their own laws. Everywhere you cannot text, but there are places in Kansas where you can talk on your phone and drive, and you do not have to have a handheld or a hands-free device. You must wear your seatbelt when you're operating a motor vehicle in the state of Kansas, and your passengers must wear their seatbelt as well. You can be pulled over by the police for not wearing your seatbelt. If you happen to be in an accident and you are driving a vehicle that's in an accident, you need to remember these things. If you are in an accident with an unattended vehicle or unattended property, and that means you hit a parked car or you hit a wall or a post or something where there's not another there's not another person there's not another person around. You need to leave your name, phone number, contact information on a note. If it's a vehicle, you need to leave a note under the windshield wiper. You need to call the police. Don't leave until you have talked to the police, and take photos of any damage. Now, of course, if you hit a post or if you hit a wall, you're not going to be able to leave your name, but you do need to call the police. If you don't do this, you're going to get a ticket for what's called leaving the scene of an accident. And it's likely that you will go to jail for 2 days if the courts finds you guilty of leaving the scene of an accident. If you are in an accident with another vehicle and there's another driver involved, you need to exchange information with the other driver. You need to call the police. You need to take photos, and don't leave the scene. Stay right where you are until the police come and they say that it's okay for you to leave. Lots of international students want to rent a car before maybe they buy one, or they want to rent a car because they want to go on a road trip over spring break or the holidays. You must have a valid driver's license and passport, and you must be able to present those when you are renting the car. You must have auto insurance. Don't rely on your credit card insurance. If you don't own a car, you can contact various auto insurance companies and ask them for a short-term policy that would protect you while you are driving a rented car. You usually must be 25 years old to rent a car. If you're 21 to 24, sometimes you can rent a car, but it's going to be a lot more expensive. And before you take possession of that car that you're renting, check it over for damages so that you know whether or not that scratch on the front bumper was there before you took possession of the car, because you do not want to be charged for damage that you were not responsible for. It seems that a lot of students want to buy cars. If that's you, then this information might be good to remember. If you're going to buy a car, you need to drive it before you buy it. So be careful about buying any kind of a car on the internet. It's important to buy locally, because if you buy locally, then that means if something goes wrong, you can go back and find the buyer. You can find repair records locally. It's just easier if something goes wrong, if you have purchased the car locally. Before you buy a car, have a used car checked out by a mechanic before you buy it. I have taken cars into a mechanic and said, would you let your mother buy this car? Check it out. Let me know if you think it's safe. Don't give any money to the seller until you see the title to that car. This is not so important when you're buying from a car dealership, but it is certainly important when you're buying from an individual, because that individual has to be able to give you the title to the car. And the title is that document that shows that they have ownership of the car and they are able to sell the car. And keep in mind, you must be able to pay for insurance and annual registration for the car. So if you buy a high dollar Lamborghini or a high dollar Porsche, you've got to be able to pay for insurance for that car every year and also pay for registration every year. So here's what a certificate of title looks like in Kansas, and it is proof that you own the car. It tells you the kind of car. It tells you the date the car was purchased. It tells you the mileage on the car. And then it says where you bought it and the prior owner. You must then register the car in Riley County. So you've got to take the title and the car to the courthouse. You must pay a property tax and registration fee. They will give you the license plate that goes on the back of the car. And instead of having the JO that is in the upper left-hand corner, it will have an RL, which stands for Riley County. And then it will have the year 20 instead of 08, like in this example. You must also show proof of current insurance. And every year, you must renew your registration. So every year, you will get a new sticker, not a new license plate, but you will get a new yearly sticker that will show that your registration is up to date. So what about alcohol? In Kansas, as in the United States, you must be 21 to legally drink alcohol. Many bars in Aggieville require that you be 21 to enter. There are some where you can be 18 to enter. If you enter the 18-year-old bar, they do put an X on your hand so that you will not be served alcohol. If you try to scrub that X off, or if you try to get alcohol, you're going to get a ticket from the police for unlawful consumption of alcohol. So, are you 21? If you are not 21, you need to not possess or consume alcohol in Riley County or in the city of Manhattan. If you do and you are caught, it's going to cost you around $500, and it could cause your driver's license to be suspended. Are the people you're drinking with 21? If you're having a party and you provide alcohol to a person who is under 21, then you are going to be given a ticket for furnishing alcohol to minors, and that ticket is going to be quite expensive as well. So, as you know, you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't drive even after having one drink. The consequences for this are more severe for international students than they are for people who are citizens of the United States. If you are arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol, your visa will be revoked. It will be taken away. So it is possible that you will not be allowed to return to the US if you leave the country, and you will have to reapply for a visa. So if you are arrested for DUI, you must contact an immigration attorney immediately. Again, if you are arrested for DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, your visa will be revoked. While we're on the topic of immigration, some crimes can cause possible removal from the United States. Domestic violence, stalking, child abuse, and violations of protective orders. Domestic battery is causing physical contact with another person who is a family member or a household member, and this includes roommates. If you have contact with them in a rude, insulting, or angry manner. This includes throwing water in their face, hitting them physically, pushing them, threatening them, any kind of physical contact in a rude, insulting, or angry manner. Stalking is an intentional harassment of another person that puts that person in reasonable fear of their safety. Usually, this is somebody following someone else around. Lots of times it's an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend bugging them and just harassing them, or a pattern of conduct that puts that person in fear of their safety. And then, of course, child abuse is harming a child. If you are charged with any of those crimes or any crime, you need to talk to a criminal attorney, and I can certainly help you with that. And you need to talk to an immigration attorney. And it's likely that they will be two different people. I do not practice immigration law. So if you talk to me for the criminal issues, then you will need to seek another attorney to talk to about the immigration issues. The consequences could be more severe for an international student than for a citizen. These are uncertain times. The immigration policy in the United States right now is crazy. It seems to change daily, and it does change daily. The things that seem to be the policy today certainly may not be the policy tomorrow. So if you have concerns about your rights as a non-citizen, or what is expected of you as a non-citizen, speak to an immigration attorney or speak to someone in the International Students and Scholars Center. They can help you because it changes daily, and that is not an exaggeration. So certainly seek help. Here are a list of resources that can help you with immigration questions and immigration issues. You certainly can use those, but doing your own research is not a match for talking to an immigration attorney. So we're going to shift gears here for just a moment, and we're going to talk about some landlord-tenant stuff. I don't know how many of you are living off campus, but this information is for you. If you are living on campus and you are renting from Kansas State University, these rules don't apply to you because the landlord-tenant law in Kansas does not apply when you are living in a residence hall or living in a housing provided by a university. Oh, I don't know how to go back. Oh boy. Okay, I'm not going to try to go back. Wait. Oh, how about that? We're learning together. So always look at the place before you rent. For example, this is what you thought you were renting, and this is the place that you got. So quite different. I am seeing right now, and this is the first part of August of 2020, I am seeing right now a number of students who looked at apartments virtually. They did a walkthrough, if you will, with the landlord who recorded a walkthrough on his phone, and then the student looked at the video and said that they would rent the apartment. When it came time to move into the apartment, it was in bad shape and it was not at all what was represented in the video. I understand with COVID-19, it's difficult to go to places and see places, but exercise extreme caution before you rent a place. Do your very best to see it in person. And if you rent someplace and you get ready to move in and it is not what was represented to you, do not move in. Contact the landlord immediately. So you're going to sign a written lease. Read it before you sign it. It's a legal contract and it's very difficult to get out of. So if you would like to have your lease reviewed, my office can do that. So we're glad to help you go over your lease and explain what's expected of you and what's expected of the landlord. Get any promises that the landlord makes in writing. So if a landlord says, the lease says that rent is $500, but you can just pay $400, get that in writing, because you cannot modify or alter a written document verbally. In my office, in Student Legal Services, we do have off-campus housing support. This is a student who has been trained in landlord-tenant law, and he does a lot of work with tenants, students who are tenants, and can certainly help you with many of the issues that students have as they're living off campus. Code Services, and their number is here. Code Services is available to inspect your apartment or your house and make sure that it is safe and that it is up to the legal code as required by the City of Manhattan. Security deposit can only be 1 month's rent. It's been my understanding in the past that some landlords have charged international students more than 1 month rent. That is not legal. That is against the law. So 1 month rent is what you can be required to pay, and the landlord holds that for the whole time that you are renting that apartment or that house. And at the end, when you move out, the landlord will look at the property, and if there's any damage, then he can take the cost of fixing that damage out of that security deposit. So that's the purpose of having that security deposit. If you leave the place without any damage, then you should get the whole amount back. Take photos of the residence when you move in and when you move out. And I'm talking about photos of the bathtub, the shower, the toilet, the stove, the oven, the countertops, the carpet, the walls, so that you know what kind of condition they were in when you moved in and when you moved out. Unfortunately, my friends, COVID-19 is not the basis to end a lease. So if you go home because of COVID-19, or you need to terminate your lease early because of COVID, that is not going to be sufficient. So it's likely that you are going to be responsible for paying the entire year's lease. Be mindful of scams. There have been several international students who have been contacted by someone who says they are a police officer and asks the student for personal information. Don't give it over the phone. Offer to meet the police officer, if that's who they are, at the police station and provide that information. Don't purchase gift cards in order to show the police officer that your credit cards are valid or are active. The police will never, ever ask you to do that. Never accept a money order from someone or a check from someone that you don't know for more than the amount requested. A popular scam that's going around is that someone will say that they want you to be their assistant, and they will pay you $2,500. They'll send you a check for $5,000. They will ask you to cash the check for $5,000, and then send them the extra $2,500 by PayPal or by wire. Well, the check is fake, but you don't find that out until you have already spent your own $2,500. So don't be sending money to people that you don't know. And then be very cautious about answering rental ads on Craigslist, because that seems to be the basis of some of these scams as well. So the resources that you have at Kansas State are myself, the student legal services attorney. I am working remotely through the first semester. So you will need to email me at bar@ksu.edu so we can set up a Zoom appointment. I'm not doing any in-person appointments this semester. So email me and we can figure something out. Zach Perez, who is the off-campus housing support person, you can call that number 532-6541 to schedule an appointment with him. And then the City of Manhattan Code Services, they are still doing inspections for houses and apartments to make sure that they are up to code. So those are good resources, great resources for you to have while you are a student at Kansas State, or while you are living in Manhattan at all. So can't answer any questions for you, which I hate, but if you do have questions after listening to this presentation and reading the PowerPoint slides, please email me, and I will be glad to respond to your emails and answer your questions the best way that I can. I miss seeing your faces, and I miss being able to interact with you personally. That's the best part of my job, and I'm sorry that I can't be with you today. So take care, have a good semester, and let me know if there's ever anything that I can do to help. I will sure be glad to.